Where the hell is
Hey everybody, welcome to the TD Report. I'm your host, David Combs, here with TK, Tony Kennedy. Tonight, everyone, we are going to dedicate the show to our guy, Fitz. Tony, very sorry to hear the news that your friend Fitz passed on. Please take some time and just talk to everybody about him. I remember him as the guy that was our first sound guy when we started the show 3 years ago, and Fitz was there for that. Go ahead, Tony.
Today is yesterday. Oddly enough, yesterday was our third anniversary. And Fitz was one of the ones who was the first sound guy, but he was one of the ones that said, "Man, you always talking about it, boom, boom, boom. You guys should do something." You know, when I reached back out to Dave, and he was one of the ones, and he had just moved back up here. So he was one of the ones that, hey man, you guys should do this show. So
he just had a young daughter. She can't be but 1 or 2 years old. Very young daughter, right?
Yeah, sir. February 2022. So I guess she's what, 20 months, 21?
Yeah, barely, almost 2 years. Yeah. Our thoughts and prayers definitely go out to Fitz and his family. I loved having Fitz on the show. Half the time, Fitz was telling us stuff and feeding us information while we were doing the show.
Yeah.
Originally on Facebook Live is when we started out.
Yes, I forget. That is when we started on Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm. We couldn't get anything to work. Remember, we were using your mom's big speaker. I mean, everybody that's doing anything, if you're running your own business or anything, you got to start small. We started back in Tony's mom's sunroom. Okay. Yeah. And, we tried to do bigger and better things. We've done some bigger and better things, and Fitz was a part of that. We want to thank Fitz for all of his contributions to the show. He helped build the show. Rest in peace, Fitz.
Rest in peace, my brother.
All right, let's talk this weekend. We didn't get on the show on Thursday because it was Thanksgiving. I hope everyone had a wonderful and restful Thanksgiving and enjoyed some good American football on television. We're going to skip the pros for just 1 second. We're going to talk about the big game. Let's talk about the game on Saturday and what that means for the college football playoff. And we're talking about the game. There's only one game that's called the big game, just one. That is Michigan, Ohio State, or that team up north, as the people from Ohio State call it. Michigan was just better, in my opinion, in almost every phase. I'm not saying that they dominated the game, because they didn't. It was kind of a back and forth affair. But in the end, Michigan was just a better team that day. And that's without Jim Harbaugh on the sideline.
Do I think Michigan's probably a better team? I do, but remember, we were going back and forth. I told you that call early was going to be the difference of the game, and it was the difference of the game. When you looked at what – that should not have been a touchdown.
No.
That should have been a touchback. You cannot get those calls when everything is even, all things are equal. A big call like that, I mean, that you just can't make that call. You got to. We have technology for you to. I don't know, man. Guys work hard all year to get to that point and get that call, and I just think it was so wrong, Dave. I think that's wrong, man.
Tony, we say this all the time about high school football, because that's where kind of, some of our focus used to be was high school football and then college. But the difference is college does have some form of replay. They do. Now, it's not the same replay that you would have in the NFL. And we're going to talk about that in a second when we get into the game that happened between Philadelphia and the Buffalo Bills. But I think at the college level, you have to let these officials' calls stand. Whether they're bad or not, the ones that cannot be reversed just have to be left alone. I don't think they should tweak with instant replay any more in the college game than they are. Because, Tony, you could look at almost any play in a college game and possibly call a targeting. Almost every tackle. You could call a targeting if you wanted to.
If you wanted to. And I agree on that. But when there's a big touchdown or a big turnover,
scoring play. Okay.
Scoring
You would
play,
you would go to the monitors. You would go to the monitors.
turnover. We going to the monitors, man, because I don't want nobody to say there was some home cooking. We in Memphis and we were down there eating barbecue on Beale Street. No, I don't want them saying that. Because the minute they start saying that,
right
now, you know, the gambler at home thinking, oh, no. See, they taking my money. And see,
Yeah.
there's the problem.
So Ohio State loses. This game was essentially an elimination game, okay, as it has been for many years. So Ohio State isn't totally eliminated because they're going to have to go to the numbers, but Michigan gets to play another game. They're going to play in the Big Ten Championship, and I think they drew, is it Iowa? Iowa. Okay. So as long as nothing crazy happens, as long as Iowa doesn't win, and even if Iowa did win, I don't see them getting into the playoff. But if Iowa did win, they would definitely knock Michigan out. That might knock Michigan out.
Because then, let's say Iowa won. So let's say Oregon won. So that would be Washington versus Michigan and Texas.
And then Texas versus Georgia. Assuming Georgia wins. Assuming Georgia beats Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Let's say everybody got one loss. Let's go down the list.
Nightmare
Georgia
scenario.
got one loss. Let's say Georgia got one loss. Bama, Texas, Michigan,
Ohio State.
Well, then you have to go and you have to put who's the highest ranked. Then that's when you can't allow the conference championship game to be held against them. So those teams, like Michigan, if any Big Ten team gonna get in, it will be Michigan.
But we would have to almost treat the champ. See, I think that the conference championship game should be treated almost like a play-in. You see what I mean? Kind of like what they do in March, like the automatic bid that they have in college basketball. You see what I mean? If you win the Big Ten championship game, that should be an automatic bid.
I'm gonna tell you what those are gonna be. Those are gonna be for people playing to get a bye. So when you go, if it's top 4 seeds, it's a 12-team tournament. The top 4 probably get a bye. So whoever's the top 4 will get a bye. So your championship game will allow you to get a bye.
When do we go to 12 games, Tony?
Next year.
Next year. So we're not going to go to 8 first and then 12. So next year.
They're going straight to 12.
Okay. So for all you Ohio State fans, Oregon fans, all of that, next year, if you end up in the same spot you are this year, you're in because you're going to be in the top. You're going to be in the top 12.
They don't want to hear that right now.
Sorry. Hey, listen, Ohio State fans, don't get after me. I'm just saying. Tony, some of them Ohio State fans salty. Now listen, Ohio State fans now want to fire Ryan Day because he's lost 3 straight games to Michigan. The funny thing is Tony, it's so funny how things change in college football because 3 years ago, Michigan fans wanted Jim Harbaugh up out of there.
Because he lost, 5 straight?
Because he had lost 5 straight. So they thought that Jim Harbaugh couldn't coach. Literally. And now, 3 years later, he's beaten Ohio State 3 times, and he could walk on water. Well, actually, he's only beaten them twice. His assistant coach beat them. His assistant coach won.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But it doesn't go on. Tony, this game doesn't go on Harbaugh's record.
Yeah, but it goes in his paycheck.
Hey, he owes his assistant coach a little chunk of that money. I hope he gives him some too. So we've talked about Ohio State, Michigan. We've talked about kind of how college football is kind of maybe shifting a little bit. We're going to be moving towards a bigger playoff next year. Let me talk about one more thing. Duke University's coach Mike Elko has taken the Texas A&M job. Okay, recently vacated by Jimbo Fisher. What do you think about that hire?
Did he do a good job at Duke? Yes, he had Duke.
He did a hell of a job at Duke. Hell of a job.
You can do that at Duke in football, not basketball, you should be able to with the, how should I say, less than desirable academic standards that you probably have.
They're making it work, Tony. They're making it work.
Yeah, yeah. If you can get the dudes at Duke with crazy academic standards to play football on that level, man, you should be able to go over to that Willy Wonka football factory at Texas A&M and do some damage.
Listen, there's so much money at Texas A&M right now that they have. There should be no complaints from any coach there that I don't have this facility, I don't have these resources, I don't have this, I don't have that. But we're talking about the SEC, okay, where all those programs over there tend to have those big budgets to support a football operation. Tony, you've seen it from the inside, okay? These are basically a good-sized corporation, a college football program.
These are corporations. So what people don't understand,
just the football side.
The football side helped pay. Hey Trace, the football side helps pay for everything. Hey folks, so you know we on YouTube for our TD report. Football side helped pay for everything. So what Dave is trying to say is he's just putting it into a nutshell that these are corporations in
Absolutely.
itself, just the football side. So don't get it twisted. These people, they make so much money. Let me mess up your holiday. They fired a guy for the next 8 years. Every time he closes his eyes and opens his eyes, he makes $26,750 a day.
Sweet dreams.
And he don't even have to work.
Nope.
All he has to do is just get up, get his coffee, and he can call the school and tell F y'all, blah, blah, blah. And they got to make sure he got his $26,750 a day.
Well, let's talk about that. Some of that money, I think, is going to be offset, Tony, because my sources tell me that Jimbo Fisher, recently fired from Texas A&M, is going to take the Vandy job.
Whoa. No. He still gets his money. They pay him.
Well, he gets it, but it's offset. He doesn't get a double dip. So he doesn't get all of that buyout and his salary.
Jimbo Fisher crazy.
He should have stayed out. I would have stayed out. I would have just not coached.
Dave,
to get a good chunk of that money, Dave,
if somebody paid you $7,000 a day,
Tony, I'd be sitting on a yacht. I'd be sitting on my yacht, cracking crabs. You hear me? I have me a big old bushel of crabs out there. All the beer you can drink. Come on over.
That's a wrap.
No, sir.
I ain't offsetting shit. So 2031 offset.
Tony, I don't think you have a choice.
We're gonna change that around. Set it off.
You're terrible, TK. Listen, if that's what happens, Jimbo Fisher gets the job at Vanderbilt and he wants to work, I say go on and let him. Just go on and let the dude work. But I will say, he has a big payout coming in 6 months.
Thanksgiving.
Big payout.
$26,750 a day. A day. So when he does this and he wakes up, that's 26.7.
All right. So listen, here on the TD Report, David Combs here with Tony Kennedy. We're talking college football right now. We're going to switch over to Thanksgiving football with the Dallas Cowboys playing the Washington Commanders. TK, we saw some history.
The Dallas Cowboys like that. We don't want to talk about Dallas.
We don't want to talk about Dallas?
Here's the reason why I want to talk about Dallas.
Okay.
I'm gonna
just one topic. I know what you're going to talk about.
I'm going to piss some Dallas fans off right now. I'm tired of the same old. You beat up and you're the bully on this block. You've been bullying this block the whole time. You grow up on this ground right here, and them young kids say, why don't you go over there and mess with the old dude? You Debo in this block. You know this Debo ain't go over there and mess with Big Perm on the other block and ain't gonna mess with them people. So Right now, Dallas fans, I love you to death. Until we beat a contender, just relax, pump the brakes, and don't get too excited because you really ain't beat nobody yet. Until you beat somebody, then I'll talk about you. But right now, we don't need to talk about Dallas, man. Move on. I don't want to keep going at the Washington franchise who don't know what the hell to do because Carolina showed you if it ain't working, get rid of them. They fired the coach 1 year into his thing, 11 games. Y'all got Ron Rivera, who's 10 games under 500, and y'all talking about, oh, well, so many excuses. That's why y'all not winning.
Well, Tony, the issue I have right now, and listen, we would be remiss if we didn't mention DaRon Bland breaks a 103-year-old record with his fifth pick six, fifth interception return for a touchdown in a season. Yeah. And just to give it some perspective, let me see, who is it? Rod Woodson is the record holder. He has 12 interception returns for touchdown, 12. And it took him 238 games to do it. DaRon Bland is playing in his 28th game as a pro. That's pretty impressive. Now, there's no guarantee that he could even get to that record because it's so hard to get that many. But the single season record, in my opinion, obviously is harder to get than the career record. That's very hard to get.
Yeah, to put all that into one season is, what he did now, you got to understand his accomplishment. And I'm not taking away from that as a football fan. You don't even have to be a Cowboy fan. As a football fan, that's extremely hard to do what he did. And to do it in the third most watched regular season game in the history of the NFL outside of Super Bowls,
And he did it in 11 games. So there's no asterisk. There's no asterisk next to his game. If he had planned to play 17 games to get it,
don't hit me with the Jim Brown.
He can't get the asterisk. So he avoided the asterisk on that. And listen, that's not an easy record to break. It just isn't. No. I'm sorry, it's not. No, so congratulations to DaRon Bland. Congratulations to Cowboys for drubbing the Commanders on Thanksgiving. Listen, about the Commanders, they fired Jack Del Rio, their defensive coordinator. But then you just mentioned a lot of Washington fans were asking, well, why not fire Rivera? Because within 3 days, the Carolina Panthers have fired their coach. They've decided in 11 games, 12 games, we've seen enough. So he's gone. Frank Reich, former Maryland Terp, he's fired in 11 games. This was his first year as a head coach in Carolina. And honestly, I don't think it was fair to do that. And here's why I say that. David Tepper, who owns the Carolina Panthers, is notorious now for firing a lot of coaches. Okay, I think he's on his fifth. He's like on his fifth coach in 5 years of owning the team. But what makes this so bad was Frank Reich wanted to draft C.J. Stroud. That's who he wanted as his quarterback. Okay, so when you're in that interview process, they're going to ask you, so who are you thinking about in the draft? With this pick, what do you want to do? So on and so forth. He told them specifically, I want C.J. Stroud. But he was overruled by ownership. Ownership moved up in the draft to get Bryce Young. And now Bryce Young is struggling mightily behind that offensive line.
And C.J. Stroud is MVP.
Is virtually your rookie of the year. He's your offensive rookie of the year. Yeah. And he's going to mess around and be the MVP. Now, Houston took it on the chin yesterday. They took a tough loss in the division.
Which probably cost them his MVP.
To the Jaguars. But he's very competitive as a rookie quarterback. There's nothing you can say negative about the kid.
No.
You just want to work with him on certain things. But Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud. If I've got to go down with the ship, Tony, I want to go down with my guys. You see what I'm saying? If I'm starting a company and they say, David, get the people around you want. Tony, you with me? I can't do this without my guys. If you tell me I got to take somebody else and it fails, I'm going to feel like this would have worked if I had Tony. This would have worked if I had Cody and Jody and Devin and the dudes I'm comfortable with. That's what it's like when you're a head coach and you come in there. And your quarterback, I would say this, and I say this to all my Commanders fans. Don't do what the Chicago Bears did. The Chicago Bears had their quarterback in Justin Fields, but then they fired the coach above him and then fired the GM above that, and then brought in a coach who isn't beholden to the quarterback. And then when the GM got hired, they told him, here's your short list of coaches. They just handed it to him. This is who you can hire. So he had to pick somebody off that list. So he did. So now the GM doesn't care about the coach because that's not really his hire. That's not his guy. And the quarterback definitely isn't his guy. See, all three of those lines in the reporting structure of a football team, they all got to be like this together, like this. Okay? Because it won't work. If the quarterback struggles, that means as the coach, I'm struggling. As the GM, that means I'm struggling. What do I need to get to make this quarterback successful? It's so I can keep my job. So my coach can keep his job.
Dave, because we talked about Dallas and Washington and the rivalry. So I have been always a Cowboy fan, and Fitz was always a Redskin fan. And we live next door. We can bang on each other's wall and talk trash. And I still hear his dad yelling at Joe Theismann and Fitz and them yelling everything out. It's January 31st, I think it was, 1983. It was the first time I ever had champagne. Fitz and them had come from, I believe, Japan, and then they came over and they lived in up in Landover Hills, but they were Redskin fans. So his dad and them, they had bought some champagne, and they said they're gonna pop it when the Redskins win Super Bowl.
Yep.
So they didn't win long time. So that night, I'm sitting in there and I'm cheering against Redskins, this and that. And man, when damn Wiggins broke that run, I was like, holy shit. I mean, it felt like I never
just lost Tony for a second there. Tony is telling us, you back? Okay.
Our building just fell. You know what I mean? Our building just fell down. It felt like it just was falling. So it was, how should I say? It was one of those things where feeling. I got people caught. You never know the feeling of something like that. And I popped open some Dom Perignon. That's what they had. Mm-hmm. So, and I had never had that. Hell, I was what? I was almost 13. And I'm drinking champagne over there with a meeting up. His mom was from France. So I'm over there drinking that. Hey, I was a little mad, but I was all right drinking that daggone Dom.
I bet you were. So listen, you might want to sip on a little something right now because I got a game I need to talk to you about that happened on Sunday. We talked about Washington and Dallas, water under the bridge. Tony, we got to talk about that early game, man. Your boys, your Lions didn't show up, man.
Who, my kitty cats?
The Lions, yeah. What happened to restore the roar? First quarter of the Thanksgiving game, they go down 20-6 to the Packers, and it was a laugh for the rest of the way. It was 29-22. The Packers threw in a couple of touchdowns at the end. But Tony, that's a game that the Lions really needed. They're sitting, and by the way, they're sitting at 8-3. They could have gone 9-2, Tony. But this might cost them the number one seed in the NFC.
Man, you're going to forget. Listen, you're going to get off my kitty cats. I say restore the roar. But some weekends, they be playing like putty cats. Like, like they trying to protect the purr.
They barely beat the Bears. If the Bears didn't give them that game, they would have lost that one too. That's just not how you want your team to be playing.
Y'all leave my Lions alone. That
okay.
Was my sneak team.
All right.
Y'all leave them alone. Hey man, they doing much better than all these teams around here, especially those teams in the AFC that's all bunched up together.
Well, let's talk about one of these AFC teams. Your Baltimore Ravens go 9-3. Yep, they go 9-3. They handle they handle the Los Angeles Chargers, who are right now 4-7 and in disarray. We think Brandon Staley's going to be the next coach fired. He's going to be very lucky to make it the rest of the season.
On Monday,
and there is no excuse for the Chargers to be this bad. They did everything by the book. First draft that they had, they got the defensive tackle. They get Bosa in there. Then the next draft, they get Justin Herbert. And then after that, they get Rashawn Stanley at tackle. You've got a defensive tackle, a quarterback, and a left tackle. Those are the building blocks for a great team. Tony, if you have those three positions locked down, you should be a good team.
Sometimes chemistry and coaching matters.
That's your feeling, is that Brandon Staley's not up to the task. So let's talk about somebody that potentially, we've talked about the Carolina job is done. They're getting a new coach. You're going to be looking at the Chargers possibly that will need a new coach. And obviously, we think the Washington Commanders will need a new coach. If you're Jim Harbaugh and you're just talking about those three jobs opening up, which one of those three do you want?
Name them again.
Carolina, Los Angeles, Washington. If just those three, if you're Harbaugh, which one do you take?
Washington.
Why?
Because I think I get more say-so in the general manager part. I think I get more say-so, and I want to be close to my brother. They're really, really tight.
Okay.
They're really, really tight. When I went over to the hotel, they said he was going to watch the game because he was suspended. He's going to watch it with his brother. So, if you and your brother are that tight, then why not be close to each other and coach? And they play each other next year in the regular season.
I would have to agree with you. I think the Washington job is attractive, but right off the bat, I don't think you will be as successful as you might be in San Diego. And I was about to call him San Diego, as you will be in Los Angeles, if only that those three positions that I talked about aren't established. Okay. So if you're Washington, you're a growth stock. Okay. Washington would be attractive. That's what thanks, Cody. Washington would be attractive because, number one, they're going to have like $90 million in cap money to spend.
Yep.
They're going to have at least 4 or 5 picks in the top 100, including one in the top 5 to top 7. Okay. And on top of that, this fan base is dying to root for a winner. Hiring the right coach, the right GM, hiring the right coach can bring those fans back. Okay. Literally like Thanos snapping his fingers. The Washington fans will be back. And I'm not saying they're going to win right away because they're going to have to get some rookies in here. They're going to have to make some hard decisions in personnel. But I'm going to say one thing about Washington that just surprised me. We just saw the trade this year where they got rid of both of their defensive ends. Okay. Chase Young goes to San Francisco. Montez Sweat goes to Chicago. And both of those guys go at the same time. I'm kind of reminded of a time when the Washington Commanders, back when they were the football team, had a offensive line with Trent Williams on it, Brandon Sheriff, and Morgan Moses. They had those three guys on their line. None of those guys are still here. Okay. All of them traded away or walked away via free agency.
All three of those guys are on really successful teams, aren't they?
Still doing it. Trent
Morgan
Williams,
Moses with Baltimore, right?
What's that?
Morgan Moses is with Baltimore?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sheriff is with Jacksonville?
Yep.
And you know where Trent Williams is.
Trent Williams is in San Francisco. Yeah. So my question is this. I just named right there 5 dudes. Pretty good players. All on the defensive line and offensive line in the trenches. Why are you letting that kind of talent go? I know you got some draft picks and compensatories and all of that stuff, but these guys were actual viable players that were contributing. Okay. And the idea that Ron Rivera had that Trent Williams was basically done as a player, it's a bad assessment. Trent Williams might play another 5 years, dude. He is He is amazing. All right. I mean, I got to be honest. Now I'm sitting here watching from a standpoint of watching him bully defensive linemen for the last 9, 10 years, and he's still out there in San Francisco doing it. You would love to still have that here in DC. It would change everything. Would you agree?
Yeah, seeing that the team that they got him for, like Dallas,
good teams,
and he's beating the hell out of Dallas. He doesn't lose to Dallas because he's built for all that. I don't know, man.
Yes, you see what I'm saying? So, I would say if I'm franchise building, if I'm developing, and I'm Jim Harbaugh, and I look at what the Washington has, what they've got right now, and say to myself, can I win in the next 2 or 3 years with that? You can't. That's not what this team is. This is a full rebuild. But I will say this. If Harbaugh thinks that Sam Howell is his guy, like, okay, I can win with him, I think Washington has a chance. I say, this is what I would do. If I were Washington, I would not draft a quarterback in this draft. I would draft that big left tackle from Penn State. That's who I would
get him. You got to get up too high to get
him. They're already at 5 now, Tony.
Who?
Washington. They're at 5.
They ain't at 5. They ain't that terrible.
Yeah, they're at 5.
You lying?
Nope.
How they move from?
If the draft started today, Washington would have the 5th pick.
Damn.
They're pretty bad, Tony.
Carolina, Chicago,
Arizona,
New England.
Let me see if I can pull up the draft order for you. Hold on.
Oh, God. That's pretty bad right there. I need to put money against them because they ain't going to win nothing.
That's all I'm saying, Tony. If you feel like if you're Harbaugh and you want to win right away, like I've got a ready-made roster that with what the guys that I've got, I just need to make change some things. You take that Los Angeles job. That's what I would do because you already have the quarterback.
Because you've got the left tackle. That has
you see what I'm saying? They've got the left tackle. They've got the quarterback. Washington just maybe has the quarterback, but definitely doesn't have the left tackle unless you draft him. You see what I'm saying?
Left tackle, left guard, right guard, center. I mean,
you need a lot. You see what I'm saying?
On the offensive line, which is the most
on the offensive line. But I'm saying the Los Angeles Chargers have that. The reason why their coach needs to be fired, the Chargers to me should be no less than 7-4. They're just too talented. You see what I'm saying? It's like you see those guys. I say this about Dallas all the time. You know my saying, nobody looks better getting off the bus than the Dallas Cowboys, right? That's how the Chargers look. They get off the bus and you're like, oh my God. And then they start playing. What does Shannon Sharp say? Look like Tarzan, play like Jane.
Like Jane.
Terrible. So we're talking about the Ravens and the Chargers. The Ravens handle them 20-10. The Ravens moved to 9-3. Ravens doing what they need to do.
They got #1 seed, right?
So far, yes.
Okay.
So far, yes. I still think Kansas City ends up with the 1 seed when it's all said and done. But if I'm the Ravens, I'm cool with that.
I don't think the Ravens lose another game.
I'll have to look at the Ravens' remaining schedule. The Ravens should have it tough the rest of the way. They played the Browns twice already, right?
They're at home for the whole month of December.
They are. They played the Browns twice already, right? I know they played the Bengals twice.
Pittsburgh comes in there to the last game. That's
okay.
It.
So that's it. So I mean, they basically have the division kind of sort of wrapped up. I mean, that's what I think. And kudos to John Harbaugh and his staff for number 1, getting the Lamar Jackson deal done, and number 2, drafting Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers has kind of been a very important piece of that. Very important piece of that offense because he gives them a little bit of some angles, and he does a lot of the things that a lot of the wide receivers didn't do when Lamar Jackson was there, and they were just burning through wide receivers, and nobody would stick.
Now they got 2 tough games.
What do they got?
They at Jaguars and they at 49ers, and then that's it to me.
Okay. Well,
Oh no, they
let me.
got the Dolphins at home,
Mhm.
and then they got the Steelers at home. So they got 4 tough games, and they got the Rams at home.
Mhm.
I,
And don't
I mean,
forget, the Eagles also have the Eagles also have the 49ers as well.
yeah.
So, and let's talk about the Eagles. Eagles win another tight one. They win in overtime, 37-34 against the Bills on in an overtime thriller. A lot of talk about officiating, Tony. It's the elephant in the room. We got to talk about it. One accepted penalty for for the Philadelphia Eagles for 5 yards. What's
Hey
going on with
man,
the officiating, Tony?
listen. I said last week, I thought the Philadelphia Eagles was the best team in the league. I thought they would lose to Kansas City just because of where it was played. Kansas City had them beat because it's hard to beat Kansas City in Kansas City. But I
Very
still
hard.
thought Philly was the best team in the league. I still think right now they are the best team in the league, not just because of their record, just because they actually made to the Super Bowl last year and they're winning. When people, make excuses, well, why are they winning this and that? Now, the bad thing is for Philly is that when you live out there on the edge like that too much, it may not catch up to you now, but it may catch up to you in the playoffs. You can't keep depending on coming back.
Right.
And you're gonna pick with the wrong one. And the wrong one ain't gonna miss a wide open touchdown in the end zone where the receiver looks one way and the quarterback throws a knuckle at it. You're not going to get that. But you, like I said, you got to give them credit. They're doing everything they need to do to win.
Now the Eagles improved to a perfect 6-0 at home, 10-1 overall, and the Bills fall to 6-6, 1-4 on the road. We've talked about the Buffalo Bills, possibly their window closing on Super Bowls. Just an inability to win tight games.
Well, that comes down to quarterback and coaching.
Yep.
The quarterback
You think they turn the ball over too much, don't you?
Yeah, if you turn the ball too much, and the coaching puts you in position to win. What play calls are we going to make? Well, how are we going to scheme people open? How are we going to scheme? Like last night, that last play, they knew they was coming with all our blitz. They called the perfect play to run Jalen up the hole. You can see the guard pull. I mean, quarterback.
Yeah,
and
it was a zero blitz, Tony. It was clear. It was a zero blitz. Everyone flat across the line. Everybody's hot. You see what I'm saying? Everybody's hot.
And that means that everybody got their back turned and he gone.
And he's gone.
He ran right in. Shit, they might as well just pick them up and let him walk in, because that's what
you brought up a good point, Tony. I got to jump in here. When you said put your quarterback in a position to win, put your team in a position to win, that's the exact same problem the Chargers have. Because I think Justin Herbert's a good quarterback. As a coach, you have to see the tendencies of what teams are doing and what plays work well against that, and then coach to that.
They shouldn't have fired the last coach.
What's that?
They shouldn't have fired the last coach like 2 years
ago. Oh, Ron
ago.
Lynn? No, they shouldn't have fired him. But
it's
Tony, this is such a tough league to keep a job. So the guys like the Bill Belichick's, the Mike Tomlins of the world, those dudes that have been around a long time,
the Harbaughs of the world,
very hard to do.
The Pete Carrolls of the world.
Who's that?
Pete Carroll of the world.
Pete Carroll. Yeah, those guys, those dudes. And I'm going to say another thing that you brought up. When you get a coach, when you get an owner, like a former owner like Dan Snyder that fired a lot of coaches, you get David Tepper, who's in Carolina. He fires a lot of coaches. There is a finite amount of coaching talent available to you as a team owner. There's only 32 teams in the league, okay? It's the most exclusive boys club, billionaire boys club in the world. There's only 32 members, okay, for you to get in. And you have to have at least $6 billion, $4 billion to own a team. So these guys that own these teams, can only look at a pool of coaches where the pool of coaches might be 35 dudes, 40 dudes that can conceivably be an NFL head coach. Would you agree on that?
Yes.
And it's so exclusive that even an owner like a former owner like Dan Snyder or David Tepper, who you might not want to work for, if he comes to you and says, hey, Dave, we want to give you an opportunity to coach. You've never had a chance to do it. This is your opportunity. Are you going to say no? Of course not. You're going to take the job. You're going to take the job. And that's the type of coach that owners that aren't great owners have to go for. You're not going to get Jim Harbaugh if you're David Tepper. You're not going to get him because Jim knows better. Jim's like, I can't work for a guy like that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you'd go after, if you're David Tepper in Carolina, you're going to have to go after somebody, promote from within, maybe somebody that wouldn't have gotten an opportunity. And by the way, the Houston Texans had to do that a couple of times before they were able to finally get DeMeco Ryan as their head coach. And he looks great.
They got the perfect guy. I think pound for pound, him and the Cincinnati guy is pretty damn good. Who's that?
Ejiro Evero. Who's that?
Who's that, Cody? I don't know. But the Houston Texans got the right guy.
Yeah. But that's the thing, Tony. There is no guarantee if you are an assistant coach, OC, defensive coordinator, there is no guarantee you'll ever get a head coaching job. So when that owner calls you in his office and says, hey, we want to offer you the job to coach this team, so on and so forth, if this is your first opportunity to coach and you haven't had one before, you're going to probably have to take it because you're going to have to take that promotion. Okay. You're talking about the defensive coordinator for Carolina. He's the new coach?
Yeah.
Is that who took it? I think that's what he's saying. Okay.
So let me explain something so we can understand, so we can hear it in this on record. If they fire Ron Rivera or Ron Rivera steps down,
he won't step down.
Then EB.
Oh, okay. He's saying Washington should hire the defensive coordinator for Carolina. Okay.
And then EB will get a chance to coach under this pressure, to coach and find out if this is your guy. I mean, what other way are you going to get a chance to find out if this is your guy? Right now, why is Rivera just sitting on? He's 10 games under 500. You know what he is. You know who he is. So when I hear people like, oh, well, they can't go fire this, that, and that. Well, obviously they can because Carolina did it. So they can do it.
Carolina
I don't want to hear. You know what, man? That's why I've been calming down on Facebook because I don't really want to talk something that I feel like I'm a damn connoisseur to. So I'm going to put it out there. So let's get it out there. I'm a fan, one of the biggest fans ever. Okay? I actually played. Yeah, I actually played. I actually signed the contract and made thousands at this game. So I kind of know what the hell I'm talking about. And I actually am a historian of this. Usually you'll find one. If you're lucky, you'll find two. You won't find three. You will not find three. They aren't out there. I mean, we can go to all the NFL events. They aren't out there. People have never signed contract, historian, and all that other stuff. So I consider myself, that's me. I consider myself really good at this shit. I know what the hell I'm talking about. So I don't want to keep arguing with stupid shit, especially here in Washington, because Washington is the biggest stupid shit I've ever seen in my life for football. I mean,
I think Carolina might have them beat, Tony.
Well, at least Carolina fired Ron Rivera and gave him the hell. Oops. And this one proceeds to go 10 games under 500. I mean,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, you acting like they threw Rivera out there, huh? Y'all take him. And these fools took him. They talk about, well, they changed the culture. Okay, so let's break down the culture. Last year, y'all was rated as the worst culture in the league by the players. Your stadium was rated as the last stadium in the thing. Last week, 2 weeks ago, you had a game where the Giants them played and it was a little hot outside and boys were funky and they couldn't even take a shower. And you had a stadium during the whole day where they couldn't wash their dicky hands when they used the bathroom. So what culture are we talking about?
I think you have to make Josh Harris and his ownership group literally are going to have to rip this down to the studs and start over. Now, they might not have a new facility to be in. They're going to have to stay in FedEx. They're going to have to stay there until a new stadium land can be acquired and they can start building. That could take a couple of years. It could. But until then, you have to basically start over in the organization with a president of football operations, a general manager, a coach, and then coordinators under that. You get that piece of you get the operations side going. You don't have these issues where, we didn't bring benches to the game and all of this ridiculous stuff that Washington has found itself. This was not how things were run under Jack Kent Cooke. They knew what they were doing. You see what I mean? And Jack Kent Cooke came here. This was the first football team he had owned. Well, wait a minute. Yep. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. He had owned teams in Canada. He had owned CFL teams in Canada before that, and then he had owned the Los Angeles Lakers. So he had some ownership experience and a little bit of football experience. I can dig that. But a lot of these finance guys, that come in like a David Tepper and guys like that, they're finance guys. They're guys like me. They look at spreadsheets and all of that stuff. I can look at a spreadsheet all day long and audit a corporation down to the penny. But I don't know anything about football like that. You see what I'm saying? I can't go and look at a high school linebacker and say this guy can go to Virginia Tech and this guy's good enough to go to Ohio State. I can't. That's not what I do.
You know where to find that person who can do that.
Yes, I definitely do.
Okay.
I know where to find a coach. I know where to find talent evaluators, but then I also know to let them do their job. See what I mean? I'm the finance guy. I own the team. I'm paying you to do a job. Okay. How do I know that you're doing your job right? Well, damn, this linebacker you got is one of the best rated in the league, and he's going to the Pro Bowl next year. And your team is one of the best defensive teams in the league. That means my talent evaluator guy doing his job, my position coach doing his job, defensive coordinator, he doing his job. You see, this is what the finance guys, I just find that get these teams don't understand. I can't pick a football team of 55 players to win me a game. I can't do that. But what I can do is hire a general manager, and it's his job to hire a coach. And then the coach's job is to evaluate the players and coordinate. You see what I mean? So I have some hope for Washington because they have brought in a metrics guy already. So they have a guy that's doing the analytics, okay, which is a big part of football. So they're bringing in a numbers guy to handle the on the field stuff, okay? So he can look at who does what and how they do it. And it's pretty cool stuff. The advanced statistics, advanced metrics are very important in football, just like a sport like baseball, even basketball.
Wait. Are you talking about Look, I come from Dallas Cowboys. They were the first ones to put computers into the recruiting and all that stuff. You still got to have this.
You still got to have the eye test. Yeah, you got to pass the eye test. I get it. Yeah.
Listen, you can do all the AI stuff you want. You still got to have this and this to win at this game. They ran on first down. Man, you kick something into the computer and tell you what you've been doing and do the opposite.
Tony, there are two teams in NFL history that married the eye test and analytics together. One was the Oakland Raiders, the original Raiders, okay? Al Davis. He wanted to see how fast the guy ran and what he looked like when he was running. That's kind of what Al did and brought in a lot of speed. Tex Schramm, when he owned the Dallas Cowboys,
exactly,
he was the other guy that brought metrics,
and the computers, yeah,
analytics, at that level, because the analytics they had back then, really only analytics you had was how strong you were, how fast you ran. But he
They
would
came
actually
out with
go.
the star system. But my point is, who the people blew that away? The Gibbs, the Walsh, the Parcell. Man, they blew that shit away because
And Dallas
Dallas
had
was
to
still
adapt.
stuck in their
Dallas had to
computer,
adapt.
and no. Listen, when the computers start taking over, no, not in football. Now I understand, yeah, we got a little electric car, and yeah, it's better on the road. But when I am telling you, when you start with this and this, that is football, because I need to be able to see. I got a little running back in South Dakota. He ran for 5,000 yards. What the hell was he playing against? You show a little running back. He played 8-man ball. Playing these little dudes. No. That dude is not the guy. He barely even walk on your team. Why? Because the eye test. If you had a computer kick and be like, man, he did this against this team, that team, this team. Nope. I need to see it. That's why we still got huddle. That's why we got to look at it.
Hey, Tony, we don't usually make a bet on the UVA Virginia Tech game, but I guess I owe you a Coke and grenadine, right? UVA, that was terrible. UVA, that was terrible.
That was
ugly.
Y'all beat North Carolina and beat Duke, right?
We did.
What the hell?
I think we won maybe 4 games this year, 3 games, something like that.
What happened in that game? I mean, I can tell.
Oh, against Tech?
I didn't see the first half.
Well, you ain't missed much. Listen, only one thing good happened out of that. One for UVA. UVA wide receiver Malik Washington breaks the ACC all-time leading catch record for a season. No ACC wide receiver has caught as many passes as Malik Washington. He's a Biletnikoff finalist. Everyone knows the best wide receiver in college football is Marvin Harrison. There's no question. The difference is Malik Washington is like 5'8", 5'9", and he's always open. He's 7'11", baby. That joker, when you throw him the football, he's open. Okay. So first in receipts, I think he's first in yardage in the ACC. He's clearly going to be first team All ACC. The question is, he won't win the Biletnikoff, but an amazing season for him, and that's about the only bright spot I got. So, by the way, Tony, I do want to just, on behalf of all UVA fans, we want to apologize about that little problem with the sprinkler system on your boys after the game. We sorry about that.
There was no problem.
But we sorry about that, man. Hey, look, y'all look like y'all needed to cool off a little bit.
Yeah, they need to cool off because
we gotta keep y'all from getting overheated.
Yeah, that was a little hot, and everybody get all mad about it. And look, man, Dave, normally I would go at you with the UVA stuff, but ever since they had that shooting, I have not really got into the rivalry like that. I haven't teased
I feel you. But
about any of that thing because it to me, I had one of our people posted something that was really, outrageous. I'm like, dude, no, man. You see those 3 numbers on there, those are actual people. And if you
very
were to
sad.
say something like that, and that was my son or whatever, man, it's time to fight. Those are people. And I don't let the rivalry get like that.
I'm not like that either.
Because I saw UVA step out there. I saw them step out there when we had our shooting. So it's hard for me when a person doesn't kick you when you're down and they give you a hand up and they show you compassion, even though you are rivals. It's hard to go off. That's why I never cheer against LSU. When we went down there the fall after the shooting, they not only treated us like family, they played our fight song. Their band played our fight song at halftime. That's never happened before in their history. So, no, it's bigger than the sport. And I hope, now that we're a year out, that the UVA team and the family and all them could find a way, because those kids, obviously this season this wasn't a typical season.
No, it was atypical. I mean, it was atypical. One of the survivors of the shootings did get to play this year, scored a couple touchdowns. Mike Hollins, congratulations. He was just happy to be back on the field, Tony. And let's be honest, be alive. He was on that bus. He might not have made it off. So it's going to be very tough, looking at what's going to happen at Virginia. Big question is whether they're going to keep Tony Elliott as coach. My opinion is this has been such an atypical situation that almost any coach would have trouble negotiating and being able to get through with the kids. I would feel bad if they fired him. I just would feel like he kind of got a raw deal. It's not all his fault. I think
you need to keep some of the same until you can get out of this.
I think so, to cycle through.
Cycle through. We shouldn't even be talking about a coach for another 3 years until we can get and cycle through what happened and get the people in and get people feeling safe and kind of get the lawsuit and everything else that's involved. You know what I mean? So
all right, TK, let's get you over to your football game. I know you're not going to watch because it's the Bears, but we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight again on the TD Report here with Tony Kennedy. I'm Dave Combs. What do you got last, Tony?
I want to make sure, folks, you see this hokey heart. I have lost a person from heart attack, stroke in September, October, and now November. Folks, please go get a cardiologist. Please get one. I got to see mine in 2 days. Every 6 months after I had a heart attack, I have to see him every 6 months. Except for when the pandemic happened, I couldn't see him for a whole damn year, which was really bad for me because, when you have a heart attack, you need to make sure you got your medicines, you got everything up. Folks, you saw what I've been putting in the summer, beginning of the season. I said that everybody needs to get a cardiologist. And unfortunately, all the people who passed away liked my comment, and they didn't get a cardiologist. Let me explain so we understand. The cardiologist's only job is to find out what is wrong with your heart. That's their job. Look up the word cardiologist and see what they study. It's a study of the heart. Their job is to study that heart. And you want them to be very successful at their job. Because if they're successful at your job, you'll still be here with us. Okay? Not just a regular doctor. You need a cardiologist.
It's good words to end on the show, Tony. You're absolutely right. Everyone, try to get heart healthy. Go see a cardiologist. Get your checkups. We want to have you guys here to watch our show, buddy. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Please add us on Spotify. Tony, we'll be back on Thursday, right?
Anniversary today. So
hey, one last thing before we go. I wanted to make sure we said this. Shout out to Andy Stefanelli at Good Counsel High School. They win the WCAC championship in a monsoon, 7-0 over DeMatha. Hey, DeMatha, great season this year. Bill McGregor, you're our guy, buddy. But congratulations to Andy Stefanelli. The WCAC, in my opinion, is one of the best high school football leagues in the country. Okay?
One of the best leagues in everything in the country.
In football, for sure. Definitely basketball, girls basketball, baseball. We're good. I will say this. Shout out, and people say I don't give Gonzaga High School any credit. Shout out to Gonzaga High School. This year might be the year that they put 2 guys in the NFL in the top 5 picks in the draft. 2. The left tackle from Penn State's a Gonzaga guy.
And Caleb Williams.
Him and Caleb Williams are going to go in the top 5 in the draft. Okay.
Gonzaga will always have this. They have the first Heisman Trophy winner.
Yes, they do. First Heisman Trophy winner in the league. Gonzaga also first black player in the league, Darrell Hill.
Hey, that man is a lot of history.
It's a historic, Tony. It's a very historic school, and shout out to them. But the reason why that Catholic League is so good is because of schools like Gonzaga, schools like DeMatha, St. John's, Archbishop Carroll, schools like that that built this league. McNamara. Yep. We got to give them all their props.
All of it.
So, guys, enjoy the game tonight. We're going to be back on Thursday. We're also going to try to get Colin Gibbs on here from St. John's High School with his dad. He had some workouts to do tonight. We're going to try to get him on Thursday. We appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming out.
See you. Bye-bye.
Later.